we were going to do that, but it would be too difficult.
Yeah, you may not. You may not. Okay, we're going to get started, everyone. Thank you for coming. We didn't know if one person, well, we knew Russ would show. And I might. But I'm glad to see some people here. So this is really interesting. You would expect that from a financial institution that would be about wealth management and how to plan for retirement. This isn't about wealth. This is about what's up here. And that second act or that third act that we have when we retire. And so this gentleman, Jay Bell, who is a member, longtime Madison Avenue advertising executive, he's living what he's going to tell you about. And so you turned 80, is it okay to say that?
Friday I turned 80.
Yeah, Friday he turned 80. All right? And one of the things that got Jay interested in this is that he was tasked by Southern California Edison, this is kind of like the PG&E of Southern California, and they noticed a weird thing happened with a lot of their executives. They retired, and a few months later they were dead.
Right.
They didn't know what to do with themselves. They were wrapped up with work. Work was their identity. They had a place to go. They had routines. They had people they worked with. And suddenly they're at home. It's like, I don't have a second act. I don't know what to do. Right. So they hired Jay to tell these people, to teach them how to look beyond, you know, the immediacy of what you knew and reinvent yourself, reimagine yourself, and have that second or third act. So this man's going to tell you about reimagination and second or third acts, and we like second acts. Jay Bell.
Thank you. Thanks, Dave. Yeah, that octogenarian thing, I'm supposed to say, it sounds like something in a space movie or something. From Oxygenia or something. Anyway, that's what's true, and I'm still at it. I've been working one way or another past what is conventionally, obviously, since Bismarck in Germany in the 1800s invented this idea of Social Security as a kind of gesture for he was Chancellor of the Republic of Germany, and he thought that'd be nice for everybody. Young people coming in, they'd like to see the old people go to the sidelines, make room for the young people. They set the date at 65 in 18-something. When life expectancy was about 61 at the best. So it wasn't going to hurt the government very much. And same thing, unfortunately, is kind of true of Social Security in our country. It was invented in the 1930s when life expectancy for men, I think it was around 63, for women 65, 66. 65 was set up as the age for Social Security in our country. So the 65-year-old thing has been in everybody's minds. Financial planners, bless their hearts, insurance companies that have those wonderful commercials of how great it's going to be to live the golden years, and Del Webb and these people that built big things out in the desert, you know, inviting you to a wonderful life. Imagine, leisure, you're only 65, you got maybe 6 more years of just plain out leisure. But we'll be talking about that. It's a big game changer. In fact, right now we're at the kind of a convergence of several factors coming down on us. But let's start off on a positive note and talk about reimagining this idea of retirement. It's going to happen someday. We're going to have to reimagine it in lots of ways. But the general idea was how to live the rest of your life, which is what Dave said. I'm supposed to be able to help you there. But I'd rather take another tack and look at how you could love the rest of your life. Because there's going to be room in the rest of your life. We'll talk about that. We're in a longevity revolution that's got a lot of people confused. I'm working this on a kind of principle from a wonderful author, Kurt Vonnegut said, we are what we imagine ourselves to be. And that's where I hope we can get started here. And I'm not going to be a lecturer. I'm going to be a facilitator, it says on my business card. And at some point here in the next few minutes, get you in the act to have a little conversation. Maybe with each other, most likely just with yourself, thinking through some things that maybe you hadn't thought about before. Now here's what you probably have thought about. This word retirement out of the dictionary is the act of ending or working your professional career. The period at which you permanently stopped your job or profession. Is that a little outdated? We'll get into that. But why do we want to pull out? Why do we want to retreat? Why do we want to withdraw from what we've been doing? Maybe because we hate the job, hate the boss, hate the situation, hate the politics, all kinds of things are negative, and that's been a traditional thing, especially in assembly lines and so forth. The labor unions came in and said, you know, our people can't be doing this in old age. So there's a lot of reasons up here about why withdrawing and ending it is a fact. But we'll talk about something here pretty soon in terms of stretching out our minds a little bit about what retirement reimagined could be. Rebalancing, redirecting, re-empowerment, rewiring, I like that one. But in this term, it's about time that we have some thinking going on about this. In fact, we're probably about 15 years late in rethinking it, because the government's not going to be able to afford that Social Security the way it is now. It's going to have to be reformed, and who knows what consequences there. So we have to look ahead a little bit and maybe plan to live a little differently in retirement than what we were told about by the insurance companies, about that dreamy world of golden age. You know, I think some cutbacks, some budgeting, and maybe some prolonging. I mean, if there's one reason not to retire, maybe you can't afford it yet. You know, it's that point of, if all the plans were laid down that you're going to retire at 65 or 61, whatever you said as a date, and you find now you're living off that nest egg. But if you're going to live another 30 years, that nest egg might just start to bounce a little bit. And baby boomers, if those of you in that category between 1946 and 1964, they're sometimes called the sandwich generation. They're in that thing where they're fine in here. They may have all the nest egg and all the stuff covered. What about up here with some folks that are living longer and maybe need a little extra help there? That's a factor. And what about down here? The kids coming up and the grandkids, they may kind of need some help, because these people laid on all those wonderful plans and got it all saved in order to go on a cruise. That may be interrupted, where they're going to have to help grandma for a couple of years, or the daughter that's getting divorced and has 2 kids, they're going to move in with you. Common story, we all kind of know those. It's about time. The historical perspective on this, we talked about Chancellor in Germany and all that. That's the old-fashioned approach. I was introduced as a Madison Avenue kind of guy. Mad Men is a TV series that is scary for us who ever were in that advertising agency business in the 1960s and 1970s, is what they're talking about. And that was an interesting time in life, certainly in the business of advertising and trying to figure out who, what, how you're going to approach those baby boomers that were coming along in large numbers. At this point, what we call baby boomers number 79 million people in the US. So that's been called, what's that word? The mongoose and the snake. You see the snake and it goes through, that's the way the charts all look. For baby boomers, they have been, continue to be, and they're always going to be a major factor. 10,000 a day of baby boomers are coming into the age of 65 right now. That's going to continue happening till 2030. So times have changed. But back in the 70s, it was kind of the conventional old way of doing things. And he was right. I did live there. This is me at my desk in 1970-something. And that's what they're pretending that everybody is on that show. But what we saw there was women were coming in and getting executive jobs. Huh, never saw that before. Who are they? Who said they could come into our dining room at some of these big companies? That was happening in those years. The baby boomers, in fact, were coming along too in their early 20s, and they were asserting themselves. And as well they should have. They were well educated. They knew what they were talking about. And so this guarding of the shielding from change was just, change was inevitable, and it happened. But what did we change from? The old days of getting your education, promising to somebody the rest of your life until your final last breath, dividing up the responsibilities of how that would work. Honey, you take care of the kids, I'll earn the money, and we'll have a just grand life. That'll be swell. At the time when the kids have grown up and all that, let's go on a cruise, we'll retire, we'll have that fund to retire with, some money coming in, pension. So we go on the cruise. Not long after that, we're dying. Which, as Dave said, in my experience, one day I was hired at the Southern California Edison Company, I lived in LA at that time, into a room. There was a gerontologist, a psychologist, 2 psychiatrists and interns, all from the University of Southern California Medical School, at Edison, under the roof of the Edison Company, with the sole project handed to them to look into the brains of these executives who were dying. As he said, within a year, 18 months, 60% of the then mostly men retiring in the 70s were dead. Now, they weren't living, they didn't take care of a lot of smoking and that stuff. In those days, being healthy was not the front issue. But even in that respect, up here is another kind of health issue. And it's got a name. These people gave it a name, and that name is still around. And in fact, it's being used in other ways. Retirement depression syndrome. A little bit like these veterans coming back from Afghanistan with their syndrome. We had a syndrome, and it affected life in every respect. Family, this executive from Edison going to the lunchroom, and everybody says, well, hey, it was great seeing you, Bob. Come back and see us some more. And they go away, and who am I?